Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday number 20. Today's topic is from the loss of God to surrender to God. So the questioner is asking, today's culture seems to reject religion, probably because of several different reasons, but I feel we are missing God. My mother prayed regularly, and she was the strength of the family. We are replacing God with materiality, comforts, and striving for money. I feel sad for the loss of religion. How can we get God back? Yes, I can understand your sadness, because having God in your heart is the most beautiful thing there is in living this life, is just knowing that God is there. So I understand your sadness, but I will say this, that God is available to us directly all the time. So it doesn't need to come through a religion or a spiritual something or anything. We have direct connection to God. But I will say that the greatest thing about religion has been, for at least in the past, is that religion created community. Religion was an organized system that made it easy for people to access God. And the other thing that I like about what religion did for us is that it insisted that we connect, or that we honor, or that we recognize or acknowledge a higher force larger than our ego. And this larger force was much more important. We had to do either a prayer or an acknowledgement of some sort, so that, and knowing that that force, that power, is far superior than consumerism, materiality, our comforts, money. So I have to say that religion played a very, very important part in our spiritual growth, in our spiritual evolution. But there are lots of people out there feeling quite limited by the structure of religion. And so they're wanting to just like, push it away or look for something else. But unfortunately, and I agree with you, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. They're losing God too. So they're getting lost in materiality. So, yeah, I get your point. And I get your point, and I'll say that in yoga, even though yoga really is more of a science, it's the science of studying the mind, becoming the watcher and watching the patterns of your mind, and it's really just a scientific approach to evolving yourself. There is something in the yoga scriptures that talks about surrender to God, and it's called Ishwar Pranidhan. And Ishwar is God, and Pranidhan is the practice of acknowledging or surrendering or offering up the ego to something higher. So this is a practice that's available for all of us, and this is how we can access the divine. So when you recognize that there's something higher, what you're doing is you're also noticing that your ego doesn't have the full capacity to to bring about the best in your life as much as the divine power does. So there is an acknowledgement that it's time to let go or release the ego's grip of controlling, and then surrender up to a higher force that is always present, but we just haven't opened our eyes to it. So your mother, probably what happened was she realized she had a big responsibility, maybe raising a large family and running the household. She had a big responsibility. Somewhere she knew that she couldn't do it completely on her own. So she asked for guidance, and she asked for guidance from that which is the creator, the divine creator of everything. So in a sense, she was practicing a surrender, because she knew that her ego couldn't do it all. So she was practicing a surrender to the divine, offering up her ego to the greater force and power that there is in existence. So there's an acknowledgement of that's running everything. So I know that when I do something, it's not really me that's doing it. I know that there's a greater force in this whole universe. In the same way that force is making the grass grow, well, that force is making me do something in life. So there's an acknowledgement that there's something larger than me. So I don't have to fully rely on my five senses, my ego, my mind, my body. These are very limited faculties, and they can't really do the job. So when you recognize something larger, you realize, oh my God, if I just let go, then I'm getting help. So perhaps maybe we can think of it as, we've heard some of these more fundamentalists saying you can be saved, or I've been saved, or get saved by God or something. Well, that's how I understand what they're talking about. They are tuning into something. What are they saved by? Well, they're saved by realizing that the ego is limited, and there is something more powerful than this ego I would call like a false god. The false god is an image that you have, and the ego is saying, I can do this for you. And you're going, okay, well, if you can do it for me, I'll let you do it. And then until you wake up and you realize, oh my God, there's something far greater that has a capacity to take care of me. And so then you look at your ego and you say, you're false. I believed in you. So this is, in a sense, being saved from the darkness. And the other thing that I really like is in Amazing Grace, there's these words that says, I once was lost and now I'm found. And the other one is, I once was blind and now I see. Well, it's kind of like that. So it's waking up. So the ego is a false image. So we're waking up that it's not what we thought it was. We hoped that it was, but it's not. So, oh boy. So why is it that these religions and these spiritual sects and these individuals waken up and they're out there telling the whole world, like, acknowledge the divine, look around and see the divine, acknowledge God. So why are they saying that? Like, why can't we just continue in our life allowing the ego to run the show and get by in life? So I like to look at it like this. This is a little example. Just imagine that you're walking around in the dark. And you can't see, but you know you have to get from A to B. And you're depending solely on your senses, your mind, however it can figure out. You're depending on your body, and you're also depending on your ego. And the ego says, I can do it. I'll do it for you. And it should be done like this. So you've got all your faculties, but they're limited. They only have so much capacity. But you have no choice because you're walking around in the dark and you say, okay, well, I'm going to let the ego run me because that's the best I can do right now. And then you wake up one day and you recognize that there is a big ball, a big golden sun ball in the sky, and it has lit up your path. And now you're looking at everything from a perspective like, oh my God, I can see. I can see where I'm going now. I can see what this life is all about. Isn't that like, that's what they're talking about. It's like, oh my God, I don't need my false ego anymore. I don't need to rely solely on my five senses, on my mind and my body. I have help. I have light. I can see. So there's this great illumination and this connection that you never had before. So that is called surrender to the divine. Like you recognize that, oh my God, this is present. It's always been there. And I've been just ignoring it. I've suppressed my eyes. I closed my eyes and I just denied that it existed. And now I see it. Okay, it's not enough to see it once. And this is where yoga comes in. It's saying Ishwar Pranidhana means it's the practice of surrendering or acknowledging. It's a simple acknowledgement. It's not like you're giving up something. As a matter of fact, you're giving up the thing that's not working for you anymore. So you need to practice a surrender. So now I'll give you an idea of what you can do in life that will help this surrendering to take place. So have you ever noticed that you're in a situation and your ego has an idea of how it should be done, and you are striving for it, you're doing it, you're pushing, you're forcing your way through. Struggle, 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 struggle. And your energy is drained and you still think you have to do it. This is the ego operating. And then push, 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 push. You realize, oh my God, I cannot do this anymore. My body's giving out. My mind is getting frustrated. I can't do this anymore. Even though the ego says you should, you still can't do it. Then there's this kind of complete collapse. And it's like you feel like, oh my shit, my ego has failed. It's not doing the job. But the moment you accept the failure is when the light comes in. That's called surrender to the divine. There's the recognition that the ego can't do it. It is too limited. And then when the light comes, have you noticed that you feel better? You're brightened up inside. You're relaxed. You feel like you can drop all your efforts and that it's getting done. The thing that you wanted to get done is actually getting done, but not with the use of the ego. So, as a regular practice for you, all you have to do is just recognize the little places in your life where you're hanging on, you're struggling, you're making too much effort. So just think, where am I making too much effort? Then let it go. Just like let go of your efforting. That's letting go of your ego. So letting go of the thing that's giving you pain and suffering, just let it go. Just try it out. And then see what happens. because maybe you'll realize that there will be this big hand that will come along and it will support you, that you didn't know that that hand was there all along. This is called the divine, the God. So surrendering to God is actually an incredibly beautiful experience, because now you're no longer relying on limited faculties. You've got the whole universe backing you. Okay? So, yeah, there's no loss of God. All you have to do is surrender, which means recognize that God's here all the time, always supporting you. Okay? So, this is today's Wisdom Wednesday, number 20. So I'll see you in future Wisdom Wednesdays. Bye for now.